Welcome back to another episode of the Coastal Feuds podcast, our very own Christmas special, and we have a lot to talk about. We're excited to get you guys some more content, so we're just going to start right off with the college football playoffs, and these were a lot of high-scoring affairs, quite a few blowouts, a lot of teams really high scoring. So once again, we're going to just start off with Texas versus Clemson. Texas coming on top, and this was really a dogfight. It was a lot of back and forth, but Texas got out to that start. They got the lead to begin with, and then they just kept on scoring back and forth. And Cade Klubnik really showed that he's a really good quarterback. I think this was a really good display. Clemson hasn't really garnered a whole lot of media attention or TV time ever since the Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence years, but Cade Klubnik really did prove that he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, this was a rematch of the Texas State Championship between the two quarterbacks a couple years back when they were in high school. I do think the detriment to Clemson football team the past week was the lack of running game. Their leading rusher, I'm blanking on his name, didn't get over 50 yards, which really made it easy for this very stout Texas defense to immediately guess that it's a pass, and they completely clamped them up in the second quarter. Texas got out to a huge lead. They went to have 28-10. That's a hole that if you're Dabo Sweeney and you have no running game and you're one dimensional, that's a hard hole to dig yourself up out of. And Kate Klubnik tried his best, but at the end, the Longhorns were just simply better and victorious.
I think I have to agree with that one, Arjun, on the idea that there wasn't really a run game from Clemson. We saw a lot of great moments from Klubnik in that game, and I think that overall he did show that he was definitely a quarterback that should be taken seriously, and makes us reminisce on the days of Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. But I mean, again, this Texas team, they look really, really strong. They look really, really good. I mean, that Jaden Blue touchdown. I mean, that was a fun one, man. I like that 77 yards to the house. That was nice. That was electric in my opinion. And I mean, Austin really felt that one. You could sense it in the Austin atmosphere. It was really, really fun. And again, I think Texas, they had a great secondary. They had a great defense. And when you know that they're passing, there's really no point in trying to stunt that run. So overall, great showing from Klubnik, great showing from that Texas defense. And I think if Clemson was going to win this game, I think they were going to have to use the ground a little bit more. But to no avail, and I think everyone knew Texas was going to come out of this one, and they did.
And I mean, you got to really think about Clemson football from like the holistic approach of the season. They lost their opener to Georgia in an absolute beatdown. And I feel ever since then, people kind of neglected Clemson a little bit. Kind of didn't think about them much until the final game of the season where they played. The Gamecocks did lose that one, but they still mustered up a good enough resume to make it to the ACC championship, where they did beat the SMU Mustangs, who were also in the playoff. So I mean, this just even though that outcome on Saturday wasn't the outcome that Tiger fans and Dabo wanted, still got to give hats off to that program for just being resilient and didn't let the early punch or blow to the season really knock them down that much.
Yeah, and just to kind of build off that, I want to give a big shout out to Jaden Blue. I know I mentioned him earlier, but just looking at the stats, I mean, he was really incredible. In 14 carries, he put up 146 yards and two touchdowns with that 77-yard touchdown. I mean, like he was averaging a first down. Like that's incredibly impressive. I mean, I feel like he really set the tone, especially going in that second quarter. Because I mean, you got to remember, Clemson scored first. Clemson they had the momentum to begin with, and then it was just a slow but surely beatdown of the Tigers, and I think Jaden Blue was just such a large part of that. He, really silenced them. It was overall really, really fun. He was a great player.
Yeah, if we are going to give shout outs, I'm going to shout out both of the Clemson freshman receivers. I mean, they've already had spectacular seasons, really showing a lot of maturity despite being so young. They both had really good games. And I really do look forward how they're going to progress and get better over the seasons. But the next game that we're going to go to, once again, had another electric environment and got off to a really hot start, was SMU and Penn State. Arjun was lucky enough to go to the game along with Tyler, who sadly could not join us tonight. Arjun, it was really quick. I mean, you got to a huge lead. Dominic DeLuca, two picks, one pick six taken to the house. What did you see from the game?
I mean, first off, shout out all the Happy Valley fans over there. You really made an impact on the game. But it all kind of was a domino effect. Kevin Jennings, they had gone for it on fourth down in Nittany Lion territory. He could have easily scrambled for the first down, but decided to chuck up the touchdown, but he underthrew it, which then gave the Nittany Lions a huge momentum boost. And then from there, we got a pick six, another pick six, and then a final pick, which is three in the first half. And our defense was just completely carrying the offense. And it seemed as if Kevin Jennings and the SMU football team just had no response. And after halftime, being up 21-0 at Penn State in this environment, it's a hard thing to come back from. So I just feel like they got themselves in a hole early. And when you play into Penn State's defense, which is a heavy pass coverage team, you're gonna struggle to win games. And they were unable to get the ground game going with their star running back, and they paid the price of it.
I think again, I don't think any one player or any one group would ever lose a football game, but I felt like Kevin Jennings was really fighting for his life out there, especially behind what an O-line that I felt just really wasn't there for him. I felt the Penn State D line was just able to just move past it and just get to Kevin Jennings or just get to the running backs just so quickly and so easily. I mean, it was that pressure that I feel like caused at least one of those interceptions. And at the end of the day, I feel that O-line, it probably should have been a little bit stronger. It probably should have had a little bit more substance to it. And Dominic DeLuca, I mean, he had two picks. I remember one very clearly was because of that pressure. He had to, I believe he had to, was forced out to his left and just threw away a bad pass. I mean, it's disappointing, but I think that O-line just needed to have a lot more heart in them. And again, big respect to Kevin Jennings for not really throwing in the towel at the end of the game. I felt like through the entire game he really kept it. He really kept trying to put his best effort out there, even though he knew it was long gone by at least the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, and I will say all of Kevin Jennings' interceptions were off of him either under an extreme amount of pressure, he was rolling out. And Kevin Jennings is extremely comfortable rolling out to his left. He has like a 67% completion percentage when he's rolling out to the left, which obviously is not great. But when you think about a quarterback on the run and flush it out of the pocket, that's obviously not a bad stat to have. It's above average. But in this game, it just didn't seem like he was ever 100% comfortable. It seemed like he was never in a rhythm. He was never in a flow. He never got the couple check down passes early that could really get his confidence going.
Yeah, another team that definitely could not get a flow or a rhythm going early was Tennessee in this Ohio State versus Tennessee matchup. This was one of the most highly anticipated games, the most even game out of really all these, what seemingly the most even game out of all the college football playoff first round. But ultimately, Ohio State giving them a beatdown 42-17, started off lightning fast. I think it was 21-0. Travion Henderson. I mean, Nico Iamaleava just couldn't get anything going. I mean, he had the cracked helmet to start off, so I mean that definitely was not a good sign to begin with. But like Charlie was saying earlier, I mean Tennessee's O-line was just really struggling. Jack Sawyer and JT, I can't even pronounce his name, but they were really getting into the backfield, deflecting passes, getting pressure, sacks. They were just disrupting the entire game in the run and pass in so many different ways.
Yeah, I feel like coming off of this Michigan game, there was a lot of uncertainties about how Ohio State would respond. Not sure if they would respond with sort of a vengeance look or sort of a defeated look, but they picked vengeance, and it was really evident since the first kickoff. When you have your key players or your highlight players on offense score 6 total touchdowns, you know you had a good game plan. You have the best running back duo in the country. You have the best backfield in the country, without a doubt, in Judkins and Henderson. And they both had 2 touchdowns for over 80 yards. And over 80 total yards, all-purpose yards. And Jeremiah Smith had over 100 yards and 6 catches. And Will Howard looked comfortable. He was in a groove. He only missed 5 passes, in which 3 of those were drops. So if you're Ohio State, and dare I say Ohio State looked the best out of all of the quarterfinal teams out there on Saturday and Friday night. I mean, you look at that team, that's a complete football team. You're going up against the SEC, which everybody said Big Ten football isn't anything close to SEC, but Ohio State manhandled them, and it made them look like babies. So I think that Ohio State really put a statement out on Saturday and really put a message out on how they were going to deal with the rest of the season in the postseason. And they have a sort of fire lit under them because of that Michigan game.
I think you got to give a lot of respect to just the rebound from the Ohio State offense. I hate to compliment Chip Kelly because just I got a lot of personal vendetta against him, but I think the way he and his offense responded, especially after that Michigan game, where it just felt like nothing that Chip would throw at the Michigan defense would work. I felt like coming into this Tennessee game, they played a much more sound game, a much more just really a game that aligns with Ohio State's identity, and they simply outplayed Tennessee. I felt like Will Howard, again, like Arjun already mentioned it, he had arguably one of his best games of the season in my opinion. I mean, 311 yards and 2 touchdowns. When looking at the stats, I mean that's an incredible game from him. And again, like you said, to bounce back after such a game that you really felt like you couldn't get anything going, and ended in a loss to the biggest rival that you have. It's just such a depressing way to end the season. And I think that a lot of respect to this Ohio State team to come back and deliver on such a level that we thought that they might not be able to ever see again from them.
And our final game of the college football playoff was Indiana versus Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Notre Dame, like a lot of the other teams, got off to a really hot start, and Kurt Cignetti just could not rally his guys to make a valiant enough comeback to come and win this game. Notre Dame really just starting off early. Jeremiah Love, 98-yard touchdown. That pretty much summed up and, gave, I guess, Notre Dame that entire win just because he started off so hot against the number one rushing defense in the country. But they did do a little bit better job, I guess, like stuffing Notre Dame compared to how the other teams really responded to stopping these high-scoring affairs. But Kirk Cincinnati, it was a really not good Cinderella story throughout the whole season. But sometimes reality just slaps you in the face, and you're brought back down to the ground.
I mean, yeah, from the jump, it kind of seemed like Notre Dame was going to be in control of this game. Um, Jeremiah Love with that 98-yard touchdown run tied the longest run in Notre Dame history, and they immediately got the crowd into the game. Curtis Rourke had the costly interception early, immediately switched momentum to Notre Dame. Indiana just kind of kept on taking shots down the field, I feel, instead of slowly working up the field and kind of building some momentum. Like Kurt Cignetti was trying to send a signal, kind of make a big play early, but he wasn't giving the little checkdowns and the dinks and dimes that Notre Dame was giving him. And I think because of that, the offense just didn't get anything going. I mean, having 3 points, being, what was it, 3-27 at halftime or 3-20 at halftime, that's that's not somewhere you want to be on a playoff game in the road in South Bend. And he owned up to it in the post-game press conference. But this isn't a season that you hang your head on if you're a Hoosier fan, or you're a player, or you're part of the program in any way. This is a first-year rebuild where you got a first-year head coach from James Madison. You got the second highest amount of transfers into your school in all of college football, and you immediately make a run to the college football playoffs. This is a story in a season that you build on for years, and I don't see this Indiana team going away anytime soon.
It was a fun battle in Indiana. I thought it was two great Indiana teams. Arjun, I like how you mentioned that. This is really just a first year rebuild from an Indiana team that we honestly did not expect to be in this college football playoffs. That this was a good at-large bid for them, and that they really were not supposed to be in this position. And I want to give a lot of credit to those Hoosiers because no one thought Notre Dame wasn't going to win this game. And at the end of the game, it was still like 3-27 or something like that. Or maybe it was 10-27, but it was clearly long gone from them. But I want to give a lot of credit to the Hoosiers. They did not stop fighting. They recovered that onside kick. They got that touchdown early, and they attempted to recover another one, but they just missed it. Wait, no, No, wait. They scored a touchdown. They recovered their onside kick. I believe that they couldn't recover another one. Am I correct about that? Maybe I'm getting the timeline mixed up a little bit. But the overall point I want to take away is that this Indiana team is going to be fun to watch next year. They didn't give up. I believe is it Kurt Signetti? Is that the offensive coordinator? Is that the offensive coordinator? Or is that the or no? That's
head coach.
That's the head coach. My bad. Then Mike Shanahan, is that his name? Shoot, who's the offensive coordinator for?
It is
Mike Shanahan. I believe he is departing. But regardless, this is going to be a good team for Indiana next year.
All right, and I think one of the biggest takeaways from this first round of college football playoffs was the importance of the home field advantage. We saw the Penn State game, Kevin Jennings having to call a timeout. Notre Dame, that's always a really tough place to play. In Ohio State, once you get the crowd into it, you really see how much of a momentum change that can give your team and how it can really help you build upon that lead. And we saw that was really evident in all of these games. So with that, there's going to be some more home field advantages, you could say, with some more the quarterfinals, I believe it is, of the college football playoffs now. There's, I think, 4 games. It's going to be Texas versus Arizona State, Oregon versus Ohio State, Penn State versus Boise State, and then Georgia versus Notre Dame. So I think we're just going to go through all these games. We're all going to do some game picks, score predictions, I guess, keys to the game. So let's start off with Arizona State versus Texas. I'm obviously going to have Texas in this game. I think that they're going to go above 30. I'm going to say actually going to say it's going to be really it's hard. I think it's going to be 35-17. I know that Texas's defense has been extremely stout in both the pass and run, and Arizona State's offense is pretty much entirely dependent on Cam Skattebo. And let me tell you, this Texas defense, this is no Big 12 tackling. They've been able to, I guess, insert themselves into the SEC way of life and way of approaching football really easily. I think Texas is going to come out on top on this game. Give me 35-17.
Yeah, I think Texas is going to handle this game from the jump. I know a lot of people are hopping on the Arizona State train saying that they got the first round bye. Yabba dabba doo. I don't really care. Texas's run defense is among the best in the SEC, along with Georgia. You can't. Cam Skattebo, great running back. Probably the second best running back in the nation behind Genty. He's doing great things this season. But this Texas defense and this Texas defensive line as a whole is something that Arizona State has not faced anything like this season. And I think it's going to be a lot like the SMU Penn State game, where the Texas defense is going to control this game from the jump because Arizona State has no idea the monster that they're about to walk into. So I'm going to say 42-24 Texas.
It's a very valid take, Arjun. And I think that I really want to say Arizona State. I really, really do. Just because, one, I'm a Pac-12 fan. And two, I mean, I really, it would be frankly fun to see a team that who I saw go through a lot of down years in the Pac-12 finally find their stride in this new conference, in this new era of college football. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, Texas looks really good. So hook 'em horns, baby. Give me the Longhorns.
Hook 'em.
All right, with this next game, Ohio State versus Oregon, I'm going to stick with my bold take that I made a couple weeks ago. I say the Ohio State Buckeyes are going to upset and end Oregon's undefeated season. Give me 42-41, really high-scoring affair. I think Will Howard is going to ball out. He's going to get his redemption tour. All the stars are going to show out. Judkins, Henderson, Jeremiah Smith. Give me the Buckeyes against Oregon.
Look, I completely understand where you're coming from. And I would say the same thing, except for the fact that Oregon has this guy named Tez Johnson. And Tez Johnson is that guy. I'm not sure if you watched the Big Ten championship game. Penn State has an amazing secondary. No glaze. But oh my God, Tez Johnson torched us. My golly, Miss Molly. When I tell you this man goes 0 to 60 in like 2.4 seconds, I mean it. He took a hitch route for 45 yards down the sideline and made three of our dudes miss. I'm telling you, if Dylan Gabriel and Tez Johnson have a good connection and they have a good RPO and running game going, this game will not be close. This game will not be close at all. I'm going 42-31 Ducks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple, Braden. I don't know what football you're watching. I think we can see that this Ohio State team has some misses against bad teams, and so Chip Kelly for me is a really hit or miss offensive coordinator. Ryan Day, this could be his last season considering how poor he's had this Youngstown. How poor he's been playing with this Youngstown team. Like, it's not even just like how good Oregon is just in general. It's how hit or miss I feel like Ohio State is. Yes, they're going to be they're going to be a good team. They are like, I have not seen them play to the level, maybe in that Tennessee game I saw, but I have not really seen them play to the level in which they can actually beat Oregon. They had a chance to beat Oregon, and they didn't because Will Howard, who admittedly his play of sliding was not actually that poor of a move. It was just a little bit of clock mismanagement, and sure, he's had time to develop still. But again, Ohio State is still just too hit or miss of a team, and I'm not saying that they're a bad team in general. I'm just saying that the high level that they're going to need to play at to beat Oregon is not a high level I've seen them play at very often. That I can't see Ohio State beating Oregon. So give me Walt Disney's Donald Duck, give me Phil Knight, give me the Oregon Ducks.
Now, Braden, what I will say is that I can see where you're coming from. Ohio State should have won the game against Oregon. That is given. Charlie, don't even give me that. Oh my God, are you kidding me? If it wasn't for Dan Lanning knowing a loophole in the rule book,
because he outcoached Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, that's just a fact.
If he didn't know that, there is a 10,000% possibility that Ohio State gets into field goal range and they take the field goal and they make it. Right? Now, with this logic, that means that Ohio State would be the second or first team in the country, regardless of if they lose to Michigan. If the rest of the season pans out how it would, regardless if they lose to Michigan, or even if they did continue to lose to Michigan, they would still be the number one team in the country because they have such a stout resume. Now, with this, they played at Autzen, and I anticipate the Rose Bowl to be a heavily leaning Oregon crowd than the Ohio State crowd. Ohio State fans travel well.
It's pretty split pretty often. It's pretty split.
Yeah, but I anticipate there being more Oregon fans. But Ohio State has shown that they can weather the storm in many different environments. They showed it in Autzen Stadium. They showed it in Beaver Stadium. And I think that there is 100% a possibility that Ohio State pulls it off against Oregon, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
Well, here's my defense, all right? Oregon, well, first of all, they did not have a good start to the season. They won against Wyoming. Not Wyoming. It was Idaho by like Idaho. 10.
The potatoes.
That was it.
Handles.
They beat Wisconsin by 2.
Hey, Wisconsin's lethal, man.
Wisconsin is lethal.
We're not talking about basketball. This is football.
Put some respect on those cheeseheads. Okay, put some respect on those cheeseheads.
Okay.
Braden Locke has an arm. He's so good at throwing touchdowns to the defense.
Jump around and watch that team.
Have you seen him throw pick sixes? He's a natural. He's a natural.
All right, but here's my defense.
Cow cheese or goat cheese, they have some goats up there.
Here's my thing. I think the Tennessee and Oregon offense is pretty similar because both of them are going off of RPOs and those different types of reads. While Dylan Gabriel is much more experienced than Nico was, the edge rushers of Ohio State are going to be so disruptive in this game. Jack Sawyer and JT, they're both going to have a ton of deflected passes, tackle for losses. They're both, seniors. They're both veteran guys. They know about these big games. I think that they're really going to take a step up. And I definitely see Ohio State winning this game. It's my bold take. Moving on to the next game. Penn State versus Boise State. I think it's going to be Penn State in this one. I think Ashton Jeanty is still going to have a day. I'm saying over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, but you can't just you can't just piggyback off of Jeanty to win against a top team like Penn State. So I don't know that I'm going to say. Let's see what am I going to say? I'm going to say 31-20.
Well, Brandon, glad you asked me. You see, no bias at all. But Ashton Jeanty's going to get stuffed by Abdul Carter. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this man named Abdul Carter, but he gets held every single play. ESPN and SportsCenter have gone over it. He technically gets held 30% of snaps, in which 2% are called. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this.
Wait, Arjun. Wait. 2% of those 30 or 2% of plays get called for him?
2% of the 30.
Oh, that's bad.
Look, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with this Penn State legend, but Abdul Carter is not Abdul. Ashton Jeanty is not this guy. All right? Penn State knows how to stop prolific rushers. Now, Ashton Jeanty is going to light us up. He's going to put 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But they can't do anything else. And Penn State has an amazing run-stopping defense. So by that logic, Penn State should win in a gritty battle. So I'm thinking 31-28 Nittany Lions off of our defense winning the championships.
Okay. So.
Don't say it, man. I'm gonna come to the Bay Area and smack you across the face if you say what I think you're gonna say.
Arjun, book your flight. And download The Lord of the Rings, because that's a great movie to watch for a cross-country flight. And come on over to Bay Area, because you're going to come slap me. Because give me the Broncos. Give me Boise State, baby. And just hear me out. You got to hear me out. Arjun, come sit back down. We've had this same conversation in specific regard to the USC-Penn State game when I was absolutely hating on USC. I said USC, they're going to have to get out to a strong first-half start. They're going to have to get to a strong first-half start because Penn State is a second-half team when the other team doesn't throw 2 pick sixes twice in a row. Penn State is a second-half team. We've known this. We've seen this the entire year. Okay? So, if Boise State can get out to a quick start with Jeanty, can get out with a lead, at least by 14 in the second half, their defense is strong enough, and I understand how good Abdul Carter is, but their defense is strong enough, in my opinion, to be able to hold them to a 28-24 absolute punch in the face, punch in the jaw, ground fight between these two teams. While in reality, yeah, I probably think the Nittany Lions are gonna win. I want some change up in this podcast. I want some controversy. I want Arjun to start yelling at me for no reason. Give me the Broncos.
Hold on, you seriously are forgetting about this? About the white magician, Tyler Warren? Are you kidding me? Boise State can't stop that.
I understand your child is named Tyler Warren, but that's not the point.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
I am serious. I am serious as the night is dark.
Boise State has nobody genuinely that can line up with Tyler Warren. They have nobody on the whole roster that could go one-on-one with Tyler Warren.
Okay, so let's say that let's say you're right. So let's say they put 2 on Tyler Warren. Can Tyler Warren take 2?
You know who can?
Who can?
You know who that frees up, rather?
Tyler Warren?
Nick Singleton?
No! No!
Nick Singleton is averaging 7 yards a carry.
Good for him. Okay. Let's say they put 2 on Warren, and then they put 2 on whatever his name is, or Katron Allen, or whoever else. I don't feel like you're just giving enough credit to this Boise State defense.
I'm not, because they're not good enough. Are you kidding me?
Hey, next week. Okay. When I show you the difference, okay, in reality, yeah, I think the Nittany Lions are probably gonna win. I hate to admit it, but I want some difference in this podcast. So give me the Broncos, okay? And when you come back next week and you look me in the eyes, I will be correct.
You're off your rocker. I hope you're.
I am perfectly on my rocker. I am calm and sitting on my rocking chair. There is 4 minutes left. We have to let Braden talk.
Oh my God!
We have one more game to go.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my.
All right. Well, I think that this next game, Georgia versus Notre Dame, I think it should be pretty consistent across all the boards. Carson Beck is out with the rest of the season with an injury, which is going to leave Gunnar Stockton having to go against a top 5 defense in the nation against Notre Dame. Give me Notre Dame by a million. I mean, Shane Gillis was really influential celebrity guest picker. I'm gonna say Notre Dame is actually no, probably not by a million. I think this might be probably one of the lowest scoring games just because the defenses are so good. I'm gonna say 20-13 Notre Dame.
You see, I'm gonna say something along the same lines. I think this is gonna be a very defensive battle, and the battle is gonna be won in the trenches, and the battle is gonna be won off the running backs. Because I think both teams are gonna be too scared to throw the football against these two stout secondaries. Notre Dame, if you're watching the film and the SEC championship, they took an early pick off of Quinn Ewers, in which he threw an absolute beauty of a ball, and they still managed to pick it off. And that it was an immediate momentum shift for Carson Beck and the Bulldogs to go down and get early points. Right? So if you're Riley Leonard, who's already been, let's be honest, he's been spotty this season. He's gone through hot stretches and he's gone through cold stretches. And Jeremiah Love is your focal point of your offense. You're immediately going to go to him first. So like you said, I think it's going to be a defensive game. Give me Notre Dame, not by much, because Trevor Etienne has been slept on heavily this year, and he's still a dog. I'm going to go 2017 off of a last-second field goal by Notre Dame.
Arjun, I actually really like your reasoning, and I'm going to use your exact same reasoning to say why Georgia is actually going to win. I know we only have 2 minutes. You just said Trevor Etienne has been slept on this entire year. I honestly don't. I think that this Georgia secondary is going to be so much better than what Notre Dame just played against Indiana. I think that Trevor Etienne is going to be able to run through this. Notre Dame defense. I think he is just that good of a quarterback. And I don't think you're giving Gunnar Stockton enough credit, okay? I think he is a good enough... Yes! Yes, come on! Are you telling me in the biggest game of the year, against one of the best secondaries in all of college football, of the Texas Longhorns, you're going to tell me that a backup quarterback who has been sitting behind Carson Beck this entire year comes into the game at halftime and still is able to muster out a victory? Do you know how impressive that is? I think you are not giving him nearly enough credit as he deserves. He is a very strong kid. Obviously, he's not as good as Carson Beck. Obviously, he's not good as Will Howard. Obviously, not good as Riley Leonard or Imam Malawa or Dylan Gabriel. Big shocker, he was sitting behind Carson Beck. Who cares? You're not giving him enough credit, okay? Stetson Bennett wasn't that great a quarterback either, and he won a national championship, okay? Give Stockton... Give him some credit. I already forget how you say his name because he's just that riled up. Give me Georgia 24-17.
Whoa. Okay.
Give me the dogs.
Sorry. Settle down, bud. First off, have you seen the photo of Gunnar Stockton knocked out in the middle of that Texas-Georgia game? He got sent to heaven.
It was one hit. We're fine.
We are not fine. We are not fine.
Gotta wrap this up. We have less than a minute.
He has to do that for double the time. He was 9 for 11 on passing yards for like 90 yards, and they were slants.
And they won with Trevor Etienne.
I don't think you understand how good this Notre Dame secondary is, Charlie. Genuinely.
I think you don't understand how good Trevor Etienne is.
I understand how good he is, but I'm also realistic in the fact that Gunnar Stockton is not the savior.
Let Braden finish it out. We have like 30 seconds.
All right, with that, that's going to close out episode 14 of the Coastal Feuds podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Braden Plord. Alongside me, Charlie Van Dyke and Arjun Pirani. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow our other socials on Instagram and Twitter, Coastal Feuds. We all hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next time.